Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So we're back on the Crystal Isles today on the Iron Mine server, and I have just finished the exploration. So we are heading over to the place that I've picked out for my base location, for my starter base anyway, or for my starter spot anyway. Let's just say that it's not going to be a base. So I'm going to show you what I've done and what I'm going to be building. It's a really cool spot actually. I love all this lake and this lagoon and everything here. It's a really good. We're actually going up to this high point right in front of us. So I decided to build, as I sort of did when I was playing on Olympus. So I find it quite fun to build in places that are difficult and a bit tricky. So yeah, I chose this pretty impractical spot, but mostly because of the view. It's a really cool area. You've got kind of a view of a lot of the biomes, and it's pretty rough at the moment. Well, some of it's pretty rough at the moment, and some of it's kind of a bit more done. So we are building on this mountain edge, not over the other side here, which is a waterfall, which is where Trough, one of the other iron miners, has built, and he very kindly actually let me get this close to him. So I've just kind of parked a few things here. I tamed a wyvern, and I bought over a steampunk transporter that Lucky Phil gave me on the Iron Mine server. So I'm using that over here. So I've just got to get down here without dying. So it's a little bit of a precarious place at the moment because I haven't done an enormous amount to it. So the idea is that this is basically, I've called this the lookout. So Toves' lookout. This was the initial kind of position. I might still use this, I'm not sure. The idea was that basically to do something with the crystals. So if you look down below at this area, this is up here is just a crafting area. And I think I'm working from down here, so it's very thick and the terrain's a bit glitchy, so you kind of glitch through it a bit here, but all I've really built is this. It's just kind of a hangout area. I haven't got a set of stairs or anything up here yet. I'm not sure how much on the hill I'm going to build, or whether I'm building down here and on this ledge down here. But let me show you what I've done. So a lot of these trees and things that I've placed, there were a couple already here. That really tall one was already here, but these banana trees I've placed down, and a lot of this foliage and the plants and stuff I've placed down because I wanted to hide away. So I will put a path in at some point. This is a path going to something else. I'm probably going to fill this area, I think. But I've built this kind of custom platform with a hidden kitchen. So that was what you couldn't see from up there. This is all kind of hidden away. So let me take you through it. The inspiration really just came from the crystal. There was actually originally a crystal up on that hill where our other platform was. And so I thought I'll do something that, as soon as this is Crystal Isle, something that kind of shows off the crystals really. So let's get a wider view of this. So it's just a little kind of hangout area. I think it's just going to be, as it's called, the lookout. So it's just going to be a spot for looking out at the view. So what I did, so this is a custom platform. As you can see, it's not the tree platform, it's not a cliff platform. I built this out myself. Be careful I don't fall off the edge here. So it's kind of hanging out over the edge a little bit. So what I did was, and I've kind of surrounded this path so it's all kind of overgrown and stuff. So we'll get to the kitchen and things in a minute, but I'll just show you this. So I did similar to what I did with the arena, although I don't feel like I've done quite as good a job of it, of making the circles this time. But yeah, I did the circle, and it was really fiddly actually, because and what I did wrong with the prototype up on the hill there was I broke the crystal thinking I could use refertilizer to grow it back again, and I haven't been able to, which I'm not really sure why. So this one I was really worried about losing, so I left it. So I had to get the first. See, if you've done these round circles before, you have to get a fence foundation, and usually you can see the end of the fence foundation, but because I wanted the centre of the circle to be the middle of the crystal, I had to bury the fence foundation into the centre of that crystal, and therefore kind of had to eyeball the others in. So I then sort of exploded out the circle as you would do, as I did on the arena, and as various other people have done in the sort of I think it's a 16-sided shape. I haven't actually ever done the 32 yet. I want to try that at some point. And then it just was an idea. And really, that was just the origination of the idea was, what can I do that looks kind of cool with this? So I built around it, and then I decided to put all these greenhouse pieces around it. It just looks like, I think it just looks kind of like a, I don't know, it looks like a, I don't know, it looks cool anyway. I think it looks cool. It looks like a star shape from above, which is always kind of cool. And what I did also, you probably won't see this because it will be in the day when I'm recording, but I put some lights in there so it lights up at night. Surrounded with the greenhouse doors and things. I probably will paint this. I'm deciding what the colour scheme is going to be. And then I ran railings all the way around the edge. And one of the challenges is always when you do these circles is that you end up with kind of overlapping railings, so you can't get just a solid railing all the way around the edge, because you get a weird shape basically, because it ends up being that you get these kind of not clean edges. The further you go out from the centre, the more that you notice that the discrepancies of the circle, the like an anti-aliasing on a circle in a computer or something. So what I did was I surrounded it all with railings anyway, and then I thought, well, what can I do to kind of cover up the railings, or use the fact that these railings are here? So I planted these, I put these planters in from Ecos. But one of the things about these planters, and I've said this, I think I said this on the video before, because I used that same planter object in the stone for my custom fountain on Olympus, I think on one of the early episodes. So this is the wooden pillar planter. The trouble is it's so tall usually, so I don't have one on me, but it's actually quite a lot taller than this, and it's not very practical because it's really high. It's actually taller than your character, so you wouldn't have a planter over your head height. Oh, it's raining, great. We shall persevere. So what I had to do was, as I've done on various few things before, is I put a shelf down on the wall just down here, so that I could then lower that through the floor to then get the height that I wanted, because I wanted it at just the level of these railings to sit with the sort of bowl sitting over the top of it. I then put a planter box, one of the just window boxes, up on each of these. Just put that. Let's just put that back. And I did that on all the bits that kind of stuck in like this, and put a light down as well. And then I put sofas down, so it's a nice kind of seating area. Obviously I put all the plants and everything in these, so these are all, each one of these is unique because I've hand planted all the plants in there, so they're not, every one of them is different, which is the way I always like to do it, and it's kind of cool, gives you a good effect, and it just looks a bit more rustic and stuff as well, because it's not all the same. So yeah, that's what it looks like. I've no idea what this is for. It was just a cool thing I thought I'd build. Yeah, I think my base is probably going to come off of it, maybe down below or above. I haven't decided yet. But then I sort of started. Yeah, the next thing that happened, just to kind of give you an insight of how I do stuff really, is I then thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool to have something down here, in this area, in this kind of hole, because it's like a little recess there. Just for the challenge really, that's through the world, but just for the challenge of doing that, And then in doing that, I then thought, oh, it'd be quite cool to have this kind of the foliage coming over the top of the path, so it's like a little secluded. So all of these, pretty much everything you can see here, not these. So if I just show you what, there's a lot of ground clutter in this map. So this is what it looks like without the ground clutter, which is pretty boring. So you can sort of see all the bits I've added there. So if I just, and in this hole as well, down that path, so just put the ground clutter and just put those back on. So yeah, and so I just sort of just playing with that idea really, and it just was like, that looks kind of cool. Oh, what if I was to do, and I needed a kitchen somewhere. So I thought, well, I don't really want to be able to see the kitchen from above, and I didn't want to do what I'd done before. I like the garden, the kitchens, as I did on Olympus. So this is supposed to be sort of the kitchen area of this hangout area, I guess. So yeah, and Eco has just come out with a new update to the RP mod, which has got some really cool new additions in it, like these jars and things, and a new counter and stuff. So let me just sort of show you what I've done that's slightly different. So I sort of, the idea was always that it's got like a canopy of the leaves, so it does look like a sort of hidden kitchen, which is kind of just like the idea of trees over the top as well. But yeah, and what the interesting thing was with this is that, so the terrain is kind of, as I said, the terrain is kind of glitchy. So if you look, I'm kind of in the terrain there, and obviously it's quite steep, this. So I think I said this in an episode before, I actually quite enjoy those sorts of little challenges. I think they're quite good for my sort of creative juices, because sometimes it's like, well, what can you do with that? What can you do with the fact that some of it is clipping into the floor? So that, for example, is the icebox right there, which is obviously usually quite a lot taller than that. It's about the same size as this, but that just happens to be a little hole that the terrain glitched it in. So I put, and it's still usable. It's still usable as the icebox. So I thought, well, that gives me the opportunity to put stuff on top of it. So, and then the similar idea with this thing back here is Eco's, where's the actual, I'll just show you this. Eco brought out so tool counter. So let's just make one of those. So actually, when playing around with it, so it's basically a worktop, which is really nice. But one of the challenges with building in this spot was the fact that there was all this foliage. So if I used that actually as a counter, it's going to be having all that foliage inside it. I could probably do something with it, but I thought, well, actually as a back to the oven, that looks quite good. So I used the terrain, the fact that the terrain goes up there, to use that to my advantage. And it's got a shelf you can put stuff in, so it just looks like a backing to the oven. So what else have I done here? Just a few extra pieces. So stacked up some cupboards. So these are just the normal, these ones stacked on top of each other. And obviously I've placed things inside them. That's the new dye pot that Eco's brought out. Then a little kind of bakery area here. And then in terms of the actual oven, so just to give you what this looks like. So I put the counter on top of it. Let's actually get the point. Let's get a pointer for you. So this is obviously the counter, and then on top I always like having the pans and stuff, but you can't snap the pans onto this object. You can't snap it even onto this. You can't do what I've done here usually. So I've got a glass half wall back there, which means I've got a fence foundation on top of this counter, to put a half wall down to allow me to snap that the hanging pans up there. But then once I hide the glass, I don't want that to look like it's just floating, so I fiddled around and put a pipe, which I've done before, I think, but as a sort of a support. And I think it just looks like it's the stone pipe looks better, because actually, interestingly enough, I always think that it's kind of metal as well, but it looks more structural than the metal pipes. Too obviously a pipe. And then I did the same actually with this to attach the herbs to the front of the cooker. I put another glass wall down there, or another fence foundation, sorry, then another glass wall, half wall, and then I've attached that. So that's actually kind of clipped inside there. Yeah, so that's kind of that. And then the only other thing I've done was that I discovered that you can free place this now. Well, you can't free place it exactly. I'll show you what I mean. So that's that previously was the dye mixer, and then Eco's made it a cooking pot because you didn't actually have a cooking pot in the mod. So if I just make one of these for a second, and I'll show you what I mean with this. And I'm also just going to make one of those as well. So there's a trick to placing that wherever you want to, basically, and that is that you can put it down now. You didn't used to be able to do that. You just didn't be able to put it on the floor. But obviously, if you're going to use that in the way I wanted to use it, it's too low. You could put it up on a railing or something, or on a you could fake a glass wall or a glass pillar or something in there, or a ceiling or something. You could just do that off the back of a counter. But what I did was actually, because I wanted it to it's actually free floating. It's not standing on that railing. So all I did was, if you just put down the, did I not make that cooker? I thought I just made that cooker. So I'll leave it in there. Yeah, I did. So if you put this down, and then you put the pot on top of it, when you take that away, it will just float there. And then all I did was get a metal pipe. So you can see it looks like it's actually a continuation of that metal pipe. It's not. And then I just kind of eyed it in there. So about there. I'd probably fiddle around with that, do it a few more times to get it a bit more perfect. But there you go. There's your hanging pot, and you can put a fire underneath it, and it looks more like a cooking pot. So yeah, that's my little random lookout place, guys. I don't know what you think. I like it. I think it's kind of a nice little place. It would actually be a nice place to hang out and just enjoy the view, which was the idea of why I'm building here, really. So yeah, I think that's probably going to call that an episode. And as I said, I'm not sure what I'm doing up there yet. I know I'm doing something down here. I don't know what it is yet. But you will find out in the next episode. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. My name is Toves, and really appreciate all the support and all the comments and the likes and stuff and the previous videos. And yeah, I shall catch you on the next one. Take it easy.